Welcome to Empowerment Radio. My name is Dr. Friedemann, and I'm so glad that you decided to join me. Empowerment Radio is about giving you the insights, tools, and solutions to address some of the most challenging aspects of our daily lives. So sit back, relax, and empower yourself. Welcome back to Empowerment Radio. We just talked about how the inner critic can kick the authentic little self to the curb, and how to remember again what that actually is, what we bring into the world that we are aware of when we are maybe 6 or 7, and then all of a sudden that gets crowded out. So you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, I would, because I've just recently gone through a great exercise on that. I've been in a program, and one of the issues that we were asked to address was, who is your inner sage? And how do you find that inner sage, which would be, as you say, your authentic self? And the task that we were given was so powerful. It was go back and find a picture of yourself when you were a child, and look at that child and look at the eyes of that child. And that's who you are. That is the unique, special being that you are, that is basically free of all of those inner voices and seeds that are planted by someone else.
I love this exercise. So did you look at your own picture?
Oh, I did look at the picture. And so I found a picture of myself as 2 or 3. And I am laying quite fearlessly with my head on the chest of a very big dog. And I'm calm, fearless, and quite happy. And so that really showed me, reminded me of who I am. And if there are times when you're starting to beat up on yourself, think about that sage, that precious child that's inside of you, and think of that person and not the one who's been really constructed, kind of implanted as an alien in your brain that, oh no, you're not good enough. Go back to.
And I think that's a wonderful way to also remember what you're here for. For me, it certainly was something to know that I love to talk to people, love to connect to people, understand people. And I already did this as a child all the time. And, through this little detour of becoming a physician and a researcher, now really going back to, since 20 years, going back to talking to people, understanding people, going, into those deeper places. That is something that as a child I enjoyed. And I think I had to remember that in order to find my mission or my purpose again. And I think a lot of people just, can benefit from going back to their innocence and just going to the inner critic time. Now, in order for you to build your confidence, what would you say was your key? You had been dealing with so much, and I think most of the tools that you're describing, or all of them, you have certainly practiced yourself. What was for you the biggest, or what made for you the biggest impact?
I would say what made for me the biggest impact was the coach that I had. And I dedicated my book to her, Pat Adson, and she just passed about a week ago at 90.
Wow.
She was still coaching. And I ended up, great fortune, being paired with her in my coaching school. So in my desire to get back to California from Iowa and needing some stream of income, I decided, well, okay, I'll be a coach and I'll work with other women lawyers. And so I went to coaching school, and one of their requirements was that you be coached by one of their master coaches. And so I was put together with her. And she really was, my guide through the dark wood. And she showed me a lot of these tools. But for me, the biggest aha, the biggest revelation was when I found out that my inner critic was so omnipresent, I didn't even know she was there.
Mm.
It was
Mm.
just this constant background. And
Yeah.
gaining mindfulness, which she encouraged me to do, and getting aware of that critic finally let me start to manage her.
Now, do you have compassion with a critic?
Oh, what a great question.
Because she's not really trying to make you miserable. I mean, she's probably just trying to make you perfect so that no one's going to criticize you
That's
or
right.
judge you.
So I'll be safer, right? And
Exactly.
I'll get
Exactly.
food and lodging if I do what I'm required to do. Uh, well, that's a great point. What I have started to do, uh, so it's not exactly compassion with the critic, but when I look back on things that I wish I had done differently, I've started to empathize with the person, myself, who did the things I regret. So, well, why did she do this? Why was she so hard on these people? Why was she so negative? So, there, I guess I'm having compassion for the evildoer, so to speak. Uh, but having compassion for the critic, wow, that's a very interesting idea.
Well, I just, often feel like that this is one of our, very, uh, you could say, engaged and motivated and dedicated inner protectors who ultimately has learned that the best way to go through life is not to make mistakes. And it's,
Yeah,
usually built on other people that just pointed out all the time, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't look like that. And so the inner critic took notes over and over. There is a whole playbook that we all have that says, this is what you need to be. And it just tries to keep you in line because it's looking for safety. It's looking for belonging or love or acceptance. But I think what you probably have noticed too is the more you have been building your confidence, maybe the quieter the inner critic became.
absolutely. Yes, certainly. But I love that point that you made about the inner critic and having compassion for the inner critic. So, if we can think about the inner critic as the child who
Yes,
is memorizing the lines that their parents give them, then we can have compassion for that child. We can think
definitely.
about, oh, she was so frightened. She was so worried. Oh, of course, that's why she was doing that. And then we can have compassion. So thank you. That was a lovely point.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I really love what you said about that the biggest difference that, you had in your journey was ultimately having a coach. And I think
Yeah,
what a coach does for you is not only giving you the tools, but it's giving you the belief in yourself. So I feel like, for all of you who are listening, I think, Kate, you are coaching people as well.
yes,
And, certainly something I'm doing, but just also don't be shy to ask for help and don't be shy to have someone that is by your side and you can borrow belief from someone who sees you without the old lenses from your past but can really
right.
point out to you more the truth of who you are and how you may sometimes forget or ignore that truth. So reaching out for help is certainly something that I find, like you said, incredibly helpful while you're building confidence.
Yes, absolutely it is. And whether we do it in that focused way, which I totally agree with, also having people you can reach out to and building connections, that's part of confidence too. And so making a conscious decision to spread your social circuits, and that's especially hard right now in the COVID era,
Yeah.
but to do what you can to stay in touch with old friends and maybe even, I guess over Zoom, make new friends or over social distance, but connections can be very important.
Well, one thing about COVID that I think is so, even though it's hard, it's also so helpful that it makes us realize that we are all in the same boat. Often we are seeing ourselves as outliers and isolated and different than everyone else, but somehow we are also realizing we are all equal because we are all dealing with this challenge, and we are all more or less feeling, maybe isolated or disconnected. So there is a desire to reach out and connect. But speaking about connection, how can people connect with you?
Oh, thank you. Well, they can reach me, Kate, at katemcguinness.com. And I should say, McGuinness is spelled in the most difficult way. It's like the Guinness Book of Records or Guinness Stout, and put an MC in front of it. So katemcguinness.com, and I'd be delighted to hear from them, or on Twitter or Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm on all those channels, and I'm always touched when I hear from a reader. I did get a note from a reader who said I had changed her life. And that, of course, was the best possible review that you could ask for.
Well, it's a fabulous book. I can highly recommend it. Confidence Lost, Confidence Found. There are so many great tools and inspirations in it. So if you are on that search, on that journey for confidence, read the book, reach out to Kate, reach out to me, and there's always a way to get back what you have lost or rebuild what may have been destroyed. So thank you, Kate, so much for being today on Empowerment Radio. It was really such a pleasure to talk. And I hope we can do this again. And thank you so much to all the listeners and those on Facebook Live. Hi, Dr. Friedemann here. Thank you for tuning into my YouTube channel. If you're interested in learning more about fear and anxiety, here you'll find guided meditations, webinars, and interviews with some of the most renowned experts in the field of empowerment. Delve into the over 230 videos and more to come every week.